Episode 4, Subagents. This is the most underused feature in the SDK, and most people build the wrong agent 10 times before they reach for it. A subagent is a separate agent instance your main agent spawns to handle a focused subtask. 3 reasons to want one. Context isolation. The subagent works in its own fresh window, so the dozens of files it reads never pile up in your main conversation. Remember the context window from episode 1. This is how you keep it clean. A focused prompt. Each subagent gets its own specialist system prompt instead of one main agent trying to hold every role at once. And parallel work, independent subtasks can run at the same time. Let's see how you define them. There are 3 ways to get a subagent. 1. Programmatic. You pass an agent's record in your query options. This is the recommended path for SDK apps, and it is what we will use today. 2. File system. Mark down files under .claude/agents. Good for reusable specialists you want across projects. They load at startup, so a new file needs a restart. 3. Built-in. Even with nothing defined, Claude can call the general purpose subagent plus explore and plan. When a programmatic agent and a file system agent share a name, the programmatic one wins. Claude invokes a subagent by calling a built-in tool named agent. So the first thing to know is mechanical. If you want subagent calls to run without a permission prompt, put agent in your allowed tools, leave it out, and the call falls through to your can use tool callback or gets denied outright in don't task mode. 1 naming footnote. This tool was renamed from task to agent in version 2.1.63. Current releases emit agent into use blocks, but the any tool list and permission denials still say task. So if you match on the name, check for both. Here is the shape of a definition. Only 2 fields are required. Description, the natural language hint Claude uses to decide when to delegate, and prompt, the subagent's own system prompt where its expertise lives. Everything else is optional. Tools is the agent's allowed list, and we will come back to it. Model lets a subagent run on a cheaper or stronger model than the main one. Skills preloads skill content. Background makes it non-blocking, and there are more knobs underneath for permissions, effort, and turn limits. This table is the whole mental model, so sit with it. A subagent starts with a fresh context window, but it is not empty. On the left, what it gets: its own system prompt, plus the prompt string from the agent tool call, your project Claude.md if you loaded settings, and tool definitions, either all of them or the subset you named. On the right, what it does not get: the parent's conversation and tool results, the parent's system prompt, and preloaded skills unless you listed them. The practical lesson: the only wire from parent to subagent is that prompt string. Any file path, any error, any decision the subagent needs, you put it in the prompt. Here's one full dispatch. The main agent calls the agent tool with a prompt. The SDK spins up the subagent with a fresh context and that prompt. As the subagent works, its messages stream back tagged with a parent tool use ID so you can tell whose work it is. And when it finishes, only the final message comes back as the result of that agent tool call. All the intermediate tool calls and reasoning stay inside the subagent. That is the context isolation from slide 1 made concrete. At the end of episode 3, I promised the subagent permission story, and here it is. A subagent does not get its own safe little sandbox. It inherits the parent's permission mode, and it cannot override it. So if your main agent is running in bypass permissions or accept edits or auto, every subagent runs with that same freedom, no matter how tame its prompt reads. The tools list narrows which tools it can touch. It does not reintroduce the permission checks the mode removed. Set the mode deliberately at the top. A real one. A code reviewer. The description tells Claude when to delegate to it. The prompt gives it its reviewing expertise. And the tools list, read, grep, glob, is the allow list. This agent can read and search the code base, but it has no edit, no write, no bash, so it physically cannot change a file or run a command. We also dropped it onto Sonnet since a focused review does not need the main model. Scaling up is just more keys. The agent's option is a record, so you add a test runner that can use bash, a docs writer that can write files, alongside the read-only reviewer. Each one carries its own tools and its own prompt. The main agent then reads the descriptions and decides which to invoke for a given task, or you steer it directly by naming the agent in your prompt. For example, use the code reviewer agent. This is the payoff people miss: take a code review. Instead of checking style, then security, then coverage in sequence, you run 3 subagents at the same time. They run concurrently, each in its own isolated window, so the wall clock cost is the slowest one, not the sum of all 3. 3 2-minute checks finish in about 2 minutes, not 6. And for a really long investigation, set background true. That subagent runs as a non-blocking task while your main agent keeps working. You do not have to treat a subagent as a black box. In the message stream, a dispatch shows up as a tool use block named agent match task 2 for older releases, and every message produced inside that subagent carries a parent tool use ID. Group the stream by the ID, and you can service like progress per subagent, even though only the final message officially returns to the parent. 2 things to close the mechanics. First, subagents are resumable. The agent tool result hands back an agent ID, and the result message gives you a session ID. Resume that same session, name the agent in your prompt, and pass the same definition, and the subagent picks up with its full transcript intact. Second, the one hard rule of the whole episode. Subagents cannot spawn their own subagents, so never list agent in a subagent's tools. If you genuinely need to coordinate thousands or hundreds of agents, that is a different tool, the workflow tool, and it has its own video. To carry forward, 3 patterns cover most of what you will build. Specialist routing, 1 subagent for a focused task where the wrong tool is a real risk. Fanout, many independent subtasks at once where you pay for the slowest, and judge and rerun, where 1 subagent verifies and you retry on failure. The thread for all of them is the same. Isolated context, an explicit prompt, the right tools. Next episode, sessions. Picking up exactly where you left off, and rewinding when you do not like where you ended up. See you there.